All right, so how can I support you today? What is it that you want to learn or understand about yourself by the end of the call? So you want to alleviate anxiety and focus on your present. Now, one of the questions that I have for you is when we talk about your needs, which are prevalent to the area in which you feel like there's a deficit because the need is not being met, what areas do you feel like you can grow in, which may tie to the lack of being present and satisfied? So you have expectations of yourself that you find now is unrealistic. However, you don't know how to stop yourself from that. Okay, from that hyper focus, which it sounds like there's never a return with that. There's never a full execution. Staying on track is absolutely important, and that comes with time management, scheduling, planning, and goal development, but being realistic in your current lifestyle. So it is very hard to get to a certain place when there is no roadmap and when there's no intentionality towards operating that roadmap on a daily basis. In other words, every single day there has to be something done in context to your goal becoming closer. And we use steps called objectives to help you understand that. So, one of the questions, let's get down to business and talk about what needs to be done to create a plan and make it specific and realistic, along with time sensitive, that can help you to see your way. Because being stuck means not being clear. And once you get clear, then guess what? Stuck goes away. So I want you to grab a piece of paper, something to write with, or your phone, however you want to do it. And I want you to start just writing down areas in your life that you can grow in. It's not specific to any certain category of life. I just want you to document all areas of your life. What areas can I get better at? What areas can I grow in? And so I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And once you're finished, then let me know and we'll start back chatting. But take your time because this is a very foundational part for really understanding how to develop a real roadmap that's going to work for you. So just let me know when you're finished. Okay, so the first part of the exercise was for you to identify what your needs are by jotting them down for your full life versus a category. So let's hear what you have. Okay, let me make sure I understand. So one of your needs is to be 100% in operating in your faith. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying to go to church to listen 100%? Be clear. So anything else you have on your list that demonstrates an area of growth in your life? All right, so the next step is I have to ask, how did you write your list? Did you write your list in such a way that there is space next to it or a line under it that you can write in? Or do you just need to go to a new sheet for new space to write? So the next step is we're going to turn those particular needs into um, goals or either one large goal. And I think that this needs to be dispersed in more than one goals because there are a few that are connected. There also are a few that is not connected. So unless we find a way to connect them all, but with that being stated, we're going to have to gain some more clarity about some things. And one way that I like to teach clarity is from a technical point of view. If you take a look at something you want to do and there are multiple steps in doing that, then you want to break the steps down. You never want to facilitate a goal or something that you want to do with multiple steps because it defeat the motivation and the persistence in that. So you want to break it down to where it's a one thing step. Make sense? One thing steps. And so that's what we're going to do is we're going to turn your needs into goals and turn them into steps that then you will have a roadmap to be able to be intentional every day, small amounts at a time, that collectively over a few time period you'll be able to meet your goal. So the first thing I want you to do is, first let me ask you this. Are you a better learner by way of seeing everything from your eyes that allows your brain to process better on paper or on the screen? Because this is important. So, can you see better by means of processing better on paper or on an electronic device? I just need clarity. Oh, okay, all right, and that's fine, but that doesn't mean that that answers the question about processing. I just want to throw that in, okay? Just because you're used to using your device doesn't mean that you process well from your device. Because guess what? The device is distracting. But for the sake of what you have right now, let's just move forward. All right, now what I want you to do is I want you to put your needs in order of importance. So, which one of these needs are important as defined as which one of them are more pressing? Which one of them shows up in my brain? Which one of those worry me the most? So, however you want to look at that, I want you to be able to identify what's number one, two, three, and so forth and so on, and then let me know when you're finished with that portion. No, those aren't objectives. Those are needs. They're just simply needs. So what you're doing is you're putting them in order of importance, not priority. Uh, that's two different words regarding where we are right now. Where we are right now is you're just saying which one of these bother me the most. That's what I'm really saying in layman's terms. Okay. So one, this bothers me the most. Two, this bothers me a little bit less than that, but it's big. You understand now? Okay. So I'll give you a few minutes. You let me know when you're ready. From this particular point, what I would like to do is get you to now zone in. Okay. You're going to start zoning in one at a time on that. So, however that looks for you in your understanding and your comprehension, make yourself aware of what that looks like. For an example, do you need to isolate that one sentence or one need in order to focus on it deeper? Do you need to open up a new tab to just cut and paste that to just see one of them? However you feel is best for you, because now we're going to start learning how to tackle the need to switch it to a goal, so then you can start working towards it for it no longer to be an area of growth in your life, therefore gaining greater satisfaction. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is you're going to start with your number one, the one that's most bothersome to you. So open up a new tab as you stated you need it, paste that there. Okay. Don't add to it. Don't bring nothing else over. Just that one need. All right. From this particular point, you're going to look at that need and you're going to turn it into a sentence, which then becomes a goal. So you can start off by, some examples are, I will, and you carry on the remainder of that. Or it could be, um, I want, or even more than that. So let's take what is your number one that you identified? More discipline. Okay. Okay. So, with that being stated, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at being more disciplined as your number one lack of satisfaction area in your life. And we're going to start turning that into a goal. Now, we have a micro way of looking at it and a macro way of looking at it. Micro is small, macro is big. So, for an example, you want to be more disciplined, right? That in itself is a goal statement. The clarity comes in your objectives or your steps. So, do you want to say that you want to be more disciplined with something, or is the overall macro after you finish working on A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which are your objectives, okay? Is the goal to be more disciplined, or is the goal really something else that ties into discipline? This is where you want to think. At the end of the day, if you were to accomplish these things within that tier of discipline, what would your life look like? Point of view, macro does make it appear overwhelming, and we are going to micro it. But for the step that we are on right now is you identifying what your big goal is, not what a little goal is, not what multiple steps is, but at the end of me, if I was to wake up tomorrow and I was absolutely disciplined, what would my life look like? That's what you want to focus on. And so whatever sentence that shows up as, write that sentence down. You're adding, you're using commas. Get rid of the concept of commas and focus on when I wake up. After learning to be disciplined, I will feel, I will be, I will think, I will act. So choose one of those concepts and then develop your sentence around that. This is one indication as to how I see that you have a hard time being clear, because you compound things, and compounding things are overwhelming, just like you use macroing is overwhelming, but you're doing the same thing, you're just calling it something different. So I want you to sit and think about this. Stop rushing it. Think about my segue to help you. You're developing one goal that is inclusive of learning to be disciplined. You can make the goal sentence simple, or you can ask yourself, after learning how to be disciplined, what will my life look like? But make it a one thing concept. So take some time to think about it. Let's take about 3 to 4 minutes, okay? Okay. Okay, let's hear what you have. Okay. So that's much better. And ultimately, what I'm hearing you say is, I will be focused, right? So while it does seem like it's a sentence that's incomplete, when you bring in the objectives, it will support that. Okay? So, with that being stated, let's move into the objectives, and then we'll have enough time to teach you about it, give you a couple of examples, and then I'll leave you with homework to finish your objectives. But before we get into that, there are other needs you have, right? So why don't we, now what I want you to do is I want you to look at that goal, I will be focused. Some of the other needs that you have, do any of those needs go under I will be focused? Like if I was focused, then this will be accomplished. Or we can take the others, if you don't find anything that works under that, then we can create new goal sentences. So let's take a look at your number 2. Or you can just look through your full list and see if there's anything that will go under the focus goal that will make that need or that growth area go away, If not, then again, we'll create additional sentences. So go through it, see if there's anything that ties. If it doesn't, let's work on the next goal sentence. Let me know what that looks out. Being intentional, that requires focus. So it could work under the focus sentence. But what do you think? Okay, so why don't you indicate a star or something on your phone? Because we'll come back to it now. Locate, see if there's any other that could go under the focus goal sentence. You find anything else? All right. So then what we'll do is we'll start the objective, which is the step that you take over time that gets you to focus. So now let's go back to your I will be focused goal, or however you put it. And keep in mind that clarity has to be everywhere. And what I mean by that is each of your sentences have to be clear. They have to be something that after you read it, you know exactly what you're talking about. You don't have to say, now, what was I talking about? You don't want that. So that's why, you know, if you think about it, I will be focused. It's clear and plain. You don't have to double back, right? And so then what you will be focused on becomes your objective. So let's work on your first objective. So for an example, this is how you would write it. You would say in G1, which is I will be focused. That's your first goal. And your first objective could be symbolized by O1, which goes under that goal. So you're still on that same sheet. And so now what you want to do is we're going to add a couple of steps to your objective to create the whole objective sentence. An objective sentence includes a couple of things. Number one, it includes who is going to do what you're going to do, the frequency that you're going to do it, the duration of how you're going to do it, and the steps that you're going to do, put in place in order to do it, to accomplish it. So if I were to give you an example, maybe the goal is I will buy a house. Okay. So one of the objectives would be I will save 20% of my paycheck bi-weekly by putting it in a savings account for the next 6 months. So that gives me a one task to do at a certain frequency amount bi-weekly for a duration of 6 months. So I know what I'm doing. When I get paid, it's being shifted over to the savings. So is that part is the how. You have any questions? Okay, so let's create your first objective using those parameters. You got to know the frequency, the duration, the how, the who gonna do it, and the who is you. I will. You can start that way and go from there. So I'll give you a few minutes to create that sentence. That's absolutely fine. Is that 100% clear for you? Does that provide instructions to where you don't have to ask yourself any questions about it? You can just take the advice and run with it. Okay. All right. And you stated that there were no other objectives under the goal I would be focused. Is that right? Or am I incorrect? Oh, now you know. Now it's starting to ring a bell, ain't it? Okay, because clarity is what brings you out of stuck. All right, so if you need to go back and kind of play with that, then do that. Okay, what does that look like? So we still under the I will be focused goal. Your first objective was about the discipline and the gym. Now, because you had in clarity that you were not specific on how you were going to be intentional, then what have you added to that need, because you haven't developed the objective sentence yet? Okay, but you had already identified the gym. Okay, so those are two different things. Those are think about it as things or nouns. You have two different subjects inside of that sentence, which means it's not clear. So your career is one subject, your finances is another. And while they do tie together, it's important to look at them separately because your what you have to do to enhance your career to make more money is totally different steps than what you need to secure your money that you are making. Does that make sense? So in actuality, those are two separate objectives. So what you want to do is you want to create an objective for your career, which is your O2, and then you want to come down and do a O3 for your finances. So I'll give you some time there. Okay. Training network events. Is that one thing or is that two things? Okay. Okay. So if you understand fully and when you go back 2 days from now and you if you ask yourself what, then you need to break that down further because those are I look at those as two separate things, but what I see them as may be different from what you see, but you're coming to get help on seeing things different, right? So your trainings and your network, to be quite honest, are differently because most of the time trainings are not inclusive of networking events. That's just an odd one, right? So you'll just bring you have to make it realistic and ask yourself how often will you seek training. Do you understand? Because seeking training takes financials. You have to take that into consideration. So maybe one training a month is that I don't. You have to look at what's realistic. That maybe means sacrificing the shoes. That may mean sacrificing the hair. That may mean sacrificing the nails once a month. So you've got if it's not realistic, if it's not doable, you're not going to do it. But yet, this is also for the purpose of challenging yourself too, because doing the same thing is not going to get you to where you want to go. With that being stated, I would encourage you to break down the O2 a little bit more. How a realistic, as far as frequency and paying for the training, will be for you. And then separate it from networking because some networks can be more frequent because they are freer sometimes, more free in price versus others. So do you see where I'm going with this? This is important for you to get this part because it goes into the clutter, right? It goes into you being stuck because you're putting so much into the same hole, if you will. And it doesn't mean that network needs to go in the trash. You don't want to do that. You just want to create a new sentence. Now, I will tell you for each goal, there should not be more than 6 or 7 objectives because when you have too many steps, that becomes clutter again, right? Becomes overwhelming again. You want to make this so easy for you that you don't even mind working on it every day. But intentionality has to be there too because working on goals every day is not what you normally do. So you're going to have to lead yourself to be challenged by incorporating these things. And that's why they have to be broken down so much that it's more motivating to do it. So, what about the part of looking for trainings? What about the part of looking for networks, events? You see, those stuff don't fall in your lap. You got to look for them, don't you? So, you see how steps are necessary. Just to give you a concept. So we got about 5 more minutes. The question is, do you want to clear up your O2 before we go? Because now I'm going to ask for your homework that you finish up your objectives on your goal 1 and then you start pursuing your goal 2 and the objectives that go along with that for your homework. So, do you have any clarifying questions or need to go through the rest of your objectives and your goal before we close out?